It's such an honor to be here this afternoon to be discussing a very important topic. And so in the spirit of, collaboration, we'll be speaking collaboration all day. The title of our panel is The Culture of Collaboration in the Workplace. And we see that collaboration is not just a buzzword, it's a strategic imperative. If we need to grow, to innovate, to bring in that growth in organizations, in the ecosystem, in anything that we choose to do, we need collaboration. We need to collaborate with the right people, And so I have with me powerful women who will be sharing their experiences, life lessons, and key strategies that is needed for collaboration in the workplace. And so I'd like to start. It's a general question for everyone. And it's, what is ideal when it comes to collaboration in the workplace? What should it really be about? Marina?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Nkem. Congratulations to you and your team. This is a very well-organized event, so thank you very much for inviting me to speak. So where your question is ideal culture in the workplace, I feel that there should always be trust, not personal trust. I don't want to be your therapist, but professional trust, right, where you are trusting me to lead you and to guide you properly, right? And then obviously open communication, because what I find is I don't like working in silos. So I like I think I'm being very loud. Let me bring this down a bit. Okay, so I believe in open communication. I am notorious for having an open door policy where I sort of don't believe in that whole junior stuff. I don't like the word subordinate at all. I believe that although I'm leading you, I should still feel like I'm guiding you in sort of a sense that you can come to me at any time and have a conversation with me. I don't believe in rejection. I don't believe in sidelining anybody. I also believe in mutual respect. We live in Ghana. Respect is a thing in Ghana. Every other word we say please. Every other word we say please. So even when you're in meetings and you're probably even several ranks ahead of your team, you are saying please, right? Because you want them to get the job done for you. So having an ideal workplace, you want to have trust, open communication, and mutual respect.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So, Adaku.
All right, thanks everyone. Good morning. Hi, Nkem. So quick fun fact, Nkem and I went to university together, so we've known ourselves for a very long time. So now to answer that question, what is interesting is I'm not a team player at all. I like to work alone. I go very far when I work alone. So I've actually had to learn teamwork as a skill. And so I've done it excellently, better than most, but it doesn't come naturally to me. I have to work at it. And somehow people see me, maybe because I'm 6'1", and they always put me in charge of teams, managing people. And so, but honestly, I didn't have a choice, basically. And I've always led very diverse teams because I'm from Nigeria, but I've lived and worked in Equatorial Guinea, South Sudan, Namibia, Sao Tome, and the UK, and now Ghana. And so everywhere I've worked, I speak only English, by the way, but then I somehow have always had to manage multilingual people, multicultural people. In my last role, so I'm 40, and my last role I started when I was about 34 or so, and my two deputies were two 60-something-year-old men, one white South African, one black Ghanaian. So it's a lot of very different competing interests that I've had to learn to manage. And as a first daughter of 5 people and a mother to toddlers, I think like my negotiation skills have really been honed by these environments. So first thing when it comes to, for me, for teamwork, is that as a leader of a team, the buck always stops with me. I never say, Ikea did this or Tosin did that. It's always a we. Because I feel as a leader, I'm at fault if something goes wrong, really. So if I'm speaking to the client, I never mention a team member's name. I don't call out people in front of the rest of the team. If we have something to say, I say that in private. So my team have come to realize that I really respect them individually. I'm not here to embarrass anybody or to shout or to yell. And being Nigerian and being tall, people expect you to be aggressive. And I can be aggressive if needed, but usually I'm always, I try to be extremely respectful of people because that's how you get the best out of people, right? You treat them how you want to be treated. Another thing, I think something she also said, I run a very, same open door policy. Please say what needs to be said. I don't know everything. I can learn from everybody, and I make that very clear to my team. But different from you, I am very hierarchical. Let's keep it cute. Like, you're not my mates, right? So, yeah, maybe. So, but despite that, it doesn't mean I'm going to discount the word of an intern because they're not, leading. I mean, like I said, my deputies are were the ages of my parents, and they had to take direction from me. So it doesn't matter, but at the same time, I just need to make sure everybody can contribute equally and not be afraid, basically, to contribute. So just having that kind of open, honest place where there's still a lot of respect and appreciating of everybody's, diverse needs and interests. And yes, we live in Ghana, very traditional African, but I am a very liberal person. So on my team, when I worked the USA, it's an American company. So you're going to have, well, for Ghana, which was new, we'll have openly gay people on the team, which a lot of people couldn't work with. And this is kind of thing that I had to make sure, listen, we all signed the contract with USA saying you're going to be open to people with all sorts of orientations. If you can't deal with someone because your church says you shouldn't like them, you can leave my office. Like literally, you will get fired. And so when you take that hardline stance that everybody should be respected regardless, all we bring to the office is our capabilities. Leave your personal interests at the door. I managed to get the best out of my people because there's no partiality here. So I'm sure I've run along because I like to talk a lot, but pretty much that's my policy.
Thank you so much. I think you answered someone's question. Thank you. So let's have you.
So collaboration in an ideal workplace. I think I'll just add to what the two ladies have said. In my workplace, we really run a culture of, I'll say, teamwork or collaboration. So it's a mix of both what Marina and Adaku said. There's a hierarchy. However, we believe in working together as a team in every single aspect of what we do. So there's nothing anybody does on their own. We have a concept called 4-eye review, which means 4 eyes have looked at the work, right? There's accountability, and we are very true to the teamwork culture, down to the fact that nobody in PwC is addressed by Mr. or Mrs. We're all first name. So when people come into the organization, perhaps having known you outside as auntie this or uncle that, or for Nigerian colleagues, ma and sir, they have to address you by your first name, and they struggle for a while. But we let them know this is the culture here, you have to get used to it. It's first name only. Even though it's first name only, there is still respect. But I think for above all, in our organization, teamwork is at the heart of everything that we do. Nobody can fail unless we're all failing together. And even if we succeed, we all succeed together, regardless of rank. Yes, as the leader, I am taking most of the risk, but it's up to me to nurture my staff to be able to rise to the occasion, and that's what I do. So I believe in a strong culture of teamwork. It works very well for us, and also respect is non-negotiable. I'll say those are the two key things, but I'm sure other things will come up as we continue the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ayesha. So, like they've said, teamwork, respect for team members, colleagues. I'll come to you, Marina, through your work, because I know Adaku already said something around it, but, we'd like to also hear your context to this. When it comes to professional life and cultural background, how do you bring this mix together, especially with the work that you do? You get to lead teams. How do you ensure that there is the right balance?
Okay, so I think I was being politically correct before. I was just trying to be nice. But that's why I love my Nigerians. Straight to the point, no nonsense. They're my favorite kind of people. But I think if I'm being honest, I'm a very blunt person. So smiling and everything, I know I'm doing that right now. But when we're in meetings, it's a different kind of beast because I don't joke with my job at all. Everybody will tell you that one thing about me, I'm very hardworking. You can say anything about me. I like to sleep a lot. I'm an introvert like Rima. I'm always at home. But one thing you can't take away from me is the fact that I'm very hardworking. So at work, I'm very professional, although I'll laugh with you and everything. My no is my no, my yes is my yes. So maybe I was trying to be nice and open and nicely, but don't come to my job and think that, hierarchy, yes, I believe it. In Ghana, we do have the hierarchy system. Let's be honest about it. I work with high-level people, which you already know that. I work with people who sometimes the title before their name and the title after their name is heavy. And you are sitting in the meeting and you're probably chairing the meeting. So look at me, very petite, very, quiet in my demeanor. But then when I start talking, they're like, but this small girl, why is she thinking that she can, actually man this whole meeting? So professionally in Ghana, you have to be stern. I've had people who would say, oh, Miss Marina, I want to come and work for you. And I tell them no. I tell them, I like how you admire me from afar, like you're smiling right now, but you can't work for me. And you can't work with me because it gets deadly at work. So you want to keep the profession, when you're working, you want to be as professional as possible. And beyond that, then you can also have that personal life. But I still believe in an open door policy. That's very important for me because you don't want anybody to feel rejected at work. You don't want them to feel sidelined, that I keep saying. But work is work, play is play. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Work is work, play is play. Okay, so Adaku, we'll come to you. You have worked in 23 countries, right? And so it means that you have diverse views to issues, life, work. So for you, when it comes to, operational framework and, culture, what do you think is the ideal? How would you advise when it comes to collaboration? How can we merge this to give our best at work?
I would say again, just being very direct about what's needed to solve the problem. Like I won't mince any words. Like what I said before, there's a lot of cultural context that comes in working in Africa. So I work in the energy sector and I have to work with presidents, ministers. I mean, when I'm in Equatorial Guinea, you enter a minister's office, you go like, Excellencia. And, that's what's needed to get the job moving. So I will do all of that, right? That's fine. But then, and so everywhere it applies, you kind of make those little adjustments, but as long as they don't interfere with the work. That's kind of like my hardline stance. And okay, I'll give an example. When I was living in Juba in South Sudan, I was negotiating for an oil block and drafting a production sharing contract at the same time. And I'm a lawyer. Sorry, I didn't start with that. I'm an oil and gas lawyer, transitioned to managing renewable energy projects. So as a lawyer, you're kind of confined to your desk doing the contracts, but I wanted to gain technical skills, which was lucky that I did because it's landed me where I am now. So when I'm doing a contract, I will make sure I go out into the country. I live there for a few months. I go out into, the field. I'm doing the seismic data with them, sleeping on the rigs. Like I do all of that. And in South Sudan, this is a country that is post-war. So it's very male-dominated. All the women and children were shipped out. So it's just men. And I'm a tall girl, but these people are like 7 feet tall. So you enter into like the ministries and they're all ex-soldiers. And then there's me, like just there, and it's like 15 of them, right? And so it could be a little, not just intimidating, because I personally wasn't intimidated, but it could just be unnerving sometimes when you're having to talk legal clauses, and it's just 15 really tall men just looking at you. It's very odd. And there was a lot of not really respecting women's boundaries. So I'd stay in a hotel, and every night people would try to get into my room. And a lot of times, when you have those kind of issues, you don't want to tell your boss or your colleagues because it's like, okay, we have to fly this girl out to South Sudan and house her in this really expensive hotel, and she's here complaining about some men disturbing her. It's like, okay, this is why women can't handle the pressure. And listen, me, I don't play with my safety, so I didn't care what they thought of me. Or I had to tell my boss, tell my colleagues, I said, this is happening. So every time I'd fly out to Juba, they'd fly me out with 2 other lawyers who would stay on either side of my hotel room. And once they hear the knocking start, they'd come out like, what do you want? And how this, stood out for me was that this is the kind of thing that makes women lose their jobs. And it's hard to explain why you lost your job. You're not incompetent, but then it's too expensive to keep you in that role because some men can't keep their hands to themselves. And I know this is not really collaboration in the work sense, but it was because literally my lawyers banded together to make sure I was protected. Going to meetings with me, because literally you have like ex-warlords who are now the officials, and every negotiation felt like a real battle, like a real fight. And so because I am very direct and very like, okay, see, I'm having this problem, come and save me. I'm not going to pretend that I'm doing fantastic. So I've been very lucky to have employers who, yes, they understand the country's a bit funny, but this is what we need to do to retain this talent. And because she's spoken up, she's, said what she needs, we'll do everything to bring the team around her and make sure it works. So I know that's an extreme example. That's not typical, but that's kind of how I've managed to work around it. Another thing is like, I value local talent a lot, right? So everywhere I've had to work, like I've worked across like 30-something countries. In my last role, I oversaw 23. Every single country, I made sure whoever was working there was from that country because we needed that cultural aspect. They would tell me this is who you call by their name, or this is who needs you to eat first before you can start talking business. And in that way, I was able to learn, literally, like you can throw me into Mali and I can figure my way out. Put me in Djibouti, I'm good, because I've learned how all these places work by collaborating with my team and not just sitting in USAID West Africa, in Accra, and directing people, just making sure I'm in there all the time. Obviously, my parents, my husband, not always comfortable with where I had to go, but it's like, I can't restrict myself because this has gotten me to where I am to be the first African in the world, male or female, to run a USA Power Sector project, a $74 million project. Like, that's not easy to come by. Right. And so, like I said before, I'm not a team player, but I've had to learn to lean on people. I'm very independent. I don't want anyone to do anything for me. But I learned, like, I had to lean on people. I had to lean on whether I was subordinates, whether I was people higher than me, whether I was even just, sometimes cleaners can give you, like, the gist of what you need to do. So just make sure I bring everybody in at all times. I meet people where they are. I've gone to mosques. I'm not religious, but I've gone to mosques, churches, synagogues. I've gone to Sele, like everywhere you need me to be to get in touch with you, I will do it. So that's my way of working around it.
Thank you, Adaku. A round of applause for her, please. For me, I think that one key message that you have given out here is to make women understand that you can actually thrive in any field if you choose to look above those challenges. So like chest it, like we say in Nigeria, you chest it, you face it. When we come out and say things like, oh, because I'm a woman, I'm the only woman in this room, it feels like, let me just step back. Another woman is not going to believe that it's possible. And so we are grateful that you are chesting it. Thank you so much. So Ayesha, I'll come to you. From your work, you lead, people. We want to know, when it comes to an organization like PwC, what are those enablers, that are necessary to championing collaboration, that has been, put in place to champion collaboration?
All right, thank you. So you're right, I do lead people, but I wear several hats in PwC. So I lead part of the business here in Ghana, then West Africa, then I have a global role as well. So it's a lot of people in a lot of countries. We are in almost every country in the world. And I think I'll narrow it down to a model. I like making models. To help communicate how I sort of navigate all of that. So the first thing is respect. So respect is so important because first you have to respect yourself. And respecting yourself means that you understand your worth and there are certain things you don't do, engage in, or listen to, or partake in. And similarly, if you do that, people will treat you accordingly. And I'm talking about some of those risque conversations, some of those pats on your back, and some of the things you should not tolerate in the grand scheme of things. So first you respect yourself, then you respect others, regardless of skin color, regardless of sexual orientation, whatever it is you don't agree with or not, you must respect them. And I remember I had a conversation with a colleague who was based in the US in one of our meetings or so. And after the meeting, he kind of said to me that he had just come back from holiday in Morocco. And I looked at him and he could pass for somebody who looked a bit of an Arabic feel or what have you. So I said, oh, are you from Morocco? Do you have ancestry from Morocco? And he said, actually, I don't. I'm half black. My father is black. My mother is Jewish. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. My family too, we have many cultures. We have Lebanese, we have Nigerian, we have Ghanaian. My cousins, some of them are Indian. We have Muslims, we have Christians. And he was like, wow, this is so interesting. And after the conversation, he said, thank you for noticing and thank you for speaking to me. Because of course in America now, nobody wants to touch the race issue, so nobody feels seen. Everything is kind of difficult and everybody is putting everybody to a distance. But he felt seen because I took interest and I noticed these things about him and asked the questions respectfully. The next thing for me is listening to everybody. I mean, sometimes, we are doing professional work, but whether we like it or not, the emotions come into it. And even though sometimes you may feel that people are behaving like children, you still have to listen to them because people need validation, they need to be heard. And I have an agenda I'm trying to execute. So if I have to just listen to you and that will get me further, I will and I must. And also I think is a respectful thing to do. And listen to hear, not listen whilst anticipating the response. Actually listen actively to those individuals. So that's R, that's L, listen. And the last one is C, find common ground. So going back to that conversation, when I shared with that individual that, oh, I'm also from a mixed background. I'm also, he said that his father was a pastor. I'm like, oh, my husband is also a pastor. He felt seen. And there are so many people that you may not realize you have things in common with until you take an interest in them and you ask a few questions. So for me, it's RLC, respect yourself and others, listen, and then find common ground. And that has helped me work with colleagues from the US all the way to Asia Pacific. From Europe all the way to Australia and New Zealand. Across time zones, on numerous calls, we've managed to work together and achieve success. So that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we learned one today, RLC, right? So who pinned it? I did too. So Marina, we'll come to you. From your work as a in gender equality and human rights, right? When it comes to inclusive leadership, how do we foster collaboration, to make it a thing, to drive growth in that space?
I definitely believe in inclusion. Like I said, I don't believe one person can do everything by themselves. It's not possible. So for me, I always make sure I include every single person. Like Ayesha and Adaku have mentioned, they've also worked with people from diverse backgrounds, which I have. And working with people from diverse backgrounds and sometimes you're going to have a lot of egos in the room and you have to manage them all. So you have to be as inclusive as possible, being that when you're in the room, there's somebody who's probably looking at you with the death stare, like who is mostly the youngest person in the room, and sometimes the only woman in the room, and they're looking at you like, I don't understand. Like, how are you on this side? I'm on the other side, right? So I definitely believe in inclusion. I believe in bringing everybody together. Now, where inclusive can be in different folds, right? So you have your junior staff, your subordinates, like the word I said I don't like, but then, having subordinates where you have to bring them close to you, because for me, I feel that I've had a lot of flack for it, right? Having junior staff and having them follow me to meetings. It's in Ghana, they look at you like, what is this junior person doing in this meeting with me? But I feel like I'm going to bring them along anyway, right? I know it's not every single meeting you can take a junior staff, but I feel that for me, when you leave me, you have to have had an impact. I've had girls or young women come and work for me, walk through the door, and they can't even look you in the eyes when they are talking. They really can't. By the time I'm done with you, you look at everybody, you stand on the stage, you do presentations. So sometimes I pretend like, I'm not feeling well, I can't come to the office. Can you go do the presentation for me? Who else is going to do the presentation? you will do the presentations. So for me, when there are presentations, I make sure my team, every single person has the presentation on hand, right? Because I believe in bringing everybody forward. You have to be able to, have like communication skills, do your presentations, because the work I do is, for somebody who's very quiet, is a lot of talking. There's a lot of talking, trying to sell Ghana to people, trying to let them come close, come to Ghana, and you're trying to sell Ghana, right? And when you're doing that, you want to be able to impact knowledge into other people that you're able to do the presentation on your behalf, right? So, like I said, if you work with me, by the time I'm done with you, you'll be, you'll be singing everywhere, you'll be walking everywhere, you walk in the room confidently. And I had one girl, when she came to me, she hadn't even sat on a plane before. Right? She had never ever sat on a plane before. And there was a trip and I said, no, I'm not going to go for it. I want you to go. It was actually Nigeria. Imagine throwing her into Nigeria. So I want to, because Nigerians are very confident. You go for events and Nigerians are very confident. They speak their minds. They don't care. And then you're bringing this girl who has never stood in front of anybody before and you're telling her, okay, go do this presentation in Nigeria. She almost collapsed. But I told her, you know what? I'm not going to go. You are going to go. And I want you to be the one to do it. So inclusion is very important for me. I want every single person. It's not realistic. I get that, because sometimes people start to feel entitled. You empower them and then they start to feel entitled, right? So if there are any young ladies right now, listen, we have boss ladies on here with me. I know Adaku doesn't play. Ayesha is a bit soft, not soft-spoken, but you can tell that she's also, she knows her stuff. But you don't want them to give you opportunities and then you start feeling entitled. Okay, when I go there, I'm going to badmouth them, or I'm going to take the opportunities that they have. So I do believe in inclusion, but I feel that, when you give people the opportunities, they should not feel necessarily entitled to the opportunities you've given them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Don't feel entitled, please. So Adaku, I'll come to you. So in the spirit of gender equality and also being an energy policy expert, right? We'd like to know from you, how do we, embed this to drive collaboration, especially for underrepresented voices?
Basically, you embed it into the institutional infrastructure. So I also have aside from being a lawyer and having a master's in oil and gas law, I also have a certification in gender and sexuality. So I've done a lot of technical gender work outside of just, women are the same as men, outside of the regular rhetoric. And so everywhere that I've worked, I've always made sure there's a quota system. Now, the energy industry, there's probably 10% representation in the energy leadership. In Africa, even less. I think we're less than maybe 40 or so women who've held C-suite energy jobs on the continent. So I'm very, very bullish about making sure that I create quotas for women. And so if we're hiring vendors, every company that comes has to have a woman in its senior management. If you don't have, go and find one. I'm not going to hire you. And luckily, this is backed by, because again, I've only ever worked for international organizations. So now I work for the UN, I work for UN Ops. And so luckily, I'm backed by that system that also insists on these parameters. I'm not sure what I would do if I worked for an indigenous African company. I don't know how it works there. I don't want to find out. But where I've worked, it's always been you have to have this set up. So we ensure that every vendor we're hiring has a woman in a senior management team. We ensure that every training we're going to, it has to be at least 50% women. If you don't have up to 50, go and find them in your company. Even within the office. So where I work now, my CEO, Damila Ogumbi, is female. I think all our country managers are female, and she's very, very deliberate about that. To her, women are smarter, they work better. And so, she really does. And then when she's giving opportunities like that, the women kind of always rise to the top and always assume leadership. And so that's why I say you build that into the infrastructure, make sure that's in your policies, even things as simple as, I think there's an AFDB, the Mo Ibrahim, Foundation Scholarship. And what it does is it provides for people aged, I think, 30 to 40. And then for women who have had children, it's 30 to 45. Because they understand that you would have breaks that would have reduced your time in the workplace. So these are the kind of things people put in place to make sure women get ahead. Another example, there's a lot of, maybe late night meetings or a lot of travel that some women can't take up. So where I work, we had to do a lot of, virtual, if you can't travel, make sure all meetings happen before 6 p.m. I mean, when we have the outlier, yes, but I needed to make sure the playing field, was as level as possible. So women with children, women who are caregivers aren't missing out. And not that this was purely centered towards women, but centered to any demographic that was marginalized in any way. So whether it was a religious marginalization, whether it was age, women, whether it was youth, even young people, we made sure there was a space or a quota where they could act like the average 30-something male, and they would not lose out on opportunity. So that's pretty much it. So it's not just a nice to have. It's like, this is the rule, this is the policy. Shape up or shape out.
Thank you. Please, a round of applause for her, please. So quickly, because we are already out of time, I'd like us in one sentence, please. One sentence. What is your advice to women in leadership and how they can, imbibe the culture of collaboration in the workplace? Advice to women in one sentence. I know that my question is like 10 sentences, please. Quickly.
Use your intuition, it's very powerful, and choose wisely.
Thank you so much, Ayesha. Thank you. Adaku, please.
Don't care about being liked. It's not necessary.
For me, I feel like I don't have any advice because a lot of women in leadership are already doing the best they can, right? So I have more of an encouragement. Adaku has done very well. We brought a lot of women here. Congratulations to you again and your team. So I'd encourage you to always keep going, right? Like you said, don't care about being liked. Keep going. I'm very proud of every single one. Best believe I did my research on all the speakers before I showed up here. Some I knew, some my family, some I went to high school with, some I've known for years. So rather than giving advice, I would encourage you to keep going and just to put God first. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marina. Thank you so much,
Something
ladies.
we didn't say, that we have actually collaborated, Ayesha and I, outside of this. Yeah. She sits on the board of a company that my company funds. And the first time we met, she's like, come to my office, let's have a chat and see what we can do together. So we've actually done this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So there's a practical example here. Thank you so much. We had questions we couldn't attend to, but be sure that they will be more than willing to attend to your questions personally. Thank you so much. And I'm sure you've had so much to learn from this. Until next time, what country are we going to next? Thank you, everyone.